What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rising Tide podcast. I'm your host, Stanton Hunter, and this is episode number 3. And it's a day late, but Christmas was yesterday, and while I said no excuses, I believe that is a viable excuse. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking it out. This episode is going to be shorter than my normal episodes, and but I do think it's going to be the most important one that I have, because this is where it starts, right? You say you want to self-improve, you want to change things about yourself, but how do you know what those things are? So I took a long, hard, deep look in the mirror, and I picked out some flaws that I could notice about myself that I want to fix. And those could be physical, they could be mental, they could be bad habits, they could be a bunch of different things. But this is the base level for where I want to get started on my self-improvement journey. And then starting next week, we have interviews starting to kick in, and those interviews will help eliminate these things that I'm putting on the list. So that's kind of the plan, and this is the first episode to get that done. I recommend that if you're listening right now and you are serious about self-improvement and you want to better yourself, I suggest you take a long, hard look in the mirror as well and decide what it is that you need to fix about yourself. It's not fun. It's not easy. But once you do it, I think it'll open your eyes to problems that you didn't even realize that you had, or bad habits that you might not have had. And so right there, I think, is a good place to jump out. So first, before I get into that, I wanted to talk about next week. I do have my first interview, which I'm very excited about. We're kicking off the new year with an interview with my friend Fred Moore of Steel Mace Nation. He's a full-time firefighter. He is a trainer in functional fitness, and he is certified trainer for Steel Mace. And he'll get into all of that because Steel Mace is awesome. He could talk about that for forever. So I'll let him explain that more next week. But it's going to be a lot more fun, and I'm excited for that one. So make sure you tune in next week for that. So jumping off, let's just get right into it. My weaknesses, first and foremost, is my health. I've never been told from a doctor that I'm unhealthy. I've never been told from a doctor that I need to work on a lot about myself. Granted, it's been 2 years since I've been to a doctor, so a lot could have changed in those 2 years, and I need to do that. And that there in and of itself is another weakness, but I do need to take my health more seriously as I get older, and I notice my gut getting a little bit bigger, and I notice that I'm getting a little more sluggish and a little more winded and a little more out of shape. That's something that I really need to nip in the bud, and that's first and foremost where I'm headed. Now, my health is directly tied to my weight, but my weight isn't really my goal. Like, the number on the scale doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't. Like, it could be 300, it could be 250. Yes, I want that number as small as possible, but that number doesn't really reflect my health, if that makes any sense. But I definitely want to see that number go down, because I know that a lot of that number has to do with my gut, and if that's the driving factor and that goes down and my number goes down, then I think all in all that's better. So that leads into my second one, which is a bad habit, which would be my eating habits. That's directly tied to my health, but it is separate in my opinion. But my eating habits are not the best. I eat fruit, but I don't eat a lot of vegetables. I always go for a second or third serving when I shouldn't, and I eat a lot of junk at late hours at night, which is horrible. I think that's the worst thing you could possibly do, is eat junk after like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Really, you shouldn't. And I need to cut down the amount of junk that I eat tenfold. Like, I'm not even saying that I'm great in that aspect, but I definitely need to work on portion control and really just all around just being more conscious of what I put into my face. I can't be eating all these cookies. I can't be eating all this junk food. As much as I enjoy it, I always have like that point at, I guess it's remorse, like the buyer's remorse. But like, I eat the cookie and I'm enjoying it, and then after it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But I never learn. I just do it again the next time. So I really need to listen to myself and just not do that. anymore. So that's something I really want to work on is my eating habits, and which would definitely relate back to my health. So I think it's a win-win. Next up, we're just trying to knock all these off real quick, is my time management. My time management is all over the place. My wife tells me constantly that I need to have a schedule, and I don't keep a schedule. I have a loose schedule. Like all right, I'm filming at this time, I'm doing this, but I don't have like editing hours blocked off. I don't have, anything else really scheduled. It's really just, okay, I'm working 9 to 5, then I come home, family time until after the kids are asleep, and then, okay, on this day I record my podcast, on this day I'm editing, on this day I'm going out to shoot, but I don't really have like my whole day planned out. And I think that I'd be much more productive if I knew, all right, from this time to this time I'm doing that, from that time to that. If I had it like actually written out and stuck to it, I think that I could see myself flourish a little more. Because right now I bounce around too much like a pinball, and I don't really have a set direction, and I'm just kind of flying out of the seat of my pants, and who knows where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing. And that runs into a lot of issues at home, which, again, I want to fix that. I want to fix everything, especially in my personal life. I want to be able to plan better so that my wife knows what I'm going to do and what she can expect from me. Because if I'm running around like a madman and not telling anybody, she expects me to do stuff around the house. If it doesn't get done, like that leads to issues. So yeah, definitely want to work on my time management, because I have a lot of, balls up in the air that I'm juggling. I have a full-time job. I have a photography business. I have a videography business. I have a live streaming business. I have a film production company. I have this podcast. I have a lot of things I'm trying to do just to try and gain traction somewhere. And it's not effective if I'm just everywhere at once. I need to be focused on one thing at a time. And by having a schedule and managing my time better, I feel like that can definitely help. So that's 3 things that I want to fix. We'll get to the other ones right after these messages. All right, so next up we have communication. I want to be able to communicate better, mostly with my wife, but also my coworkers, my children, my family. There are just too many times, though, that my failure to communicate has led to an argument with my wife that just didn't need to happen. And, it's not me miscommunicating on purpose. It's just kind of how I communicate. It's just not being received properly. And I think that I can definitely learn to redo how I communicate to be more effective. Case in point, this morning at like 6:30 in the morning, my wife asked me a question. Now I'm asleep. I don't even know what the question was. She still hasn't told me, but she asked me a question. I didn't answer it, I guess. And then I wake up, an hour later, and she says like, "Oh, are you ready to talk now?" And the way she said it, I knew she had asked me something before. I didn't recall her asking me anything, but the way she said it, there's clearly a conversation that she had with my subconscious that didn't end well. And so I said, "Yes, I'm ready to talk now. Hi, my name is," and I held out my hand to shake her hand, and that didn't go over well. Now, I've tried this before in the past. I think it's funny. Maybe my sense of humor needs work as well. But I thought it was funny at the time, and that's why I did it. And I've done it before, and I've done it before multiple times. And every time it has the same effect. She's not amused. And she tells me that I'm not taking the conversation seriously, or that I'm not, interested in what she has to say, which is not true. Right? I am interested. I am very invested, and I am taking the conversation seriously. I can see in hindsight how me trying to crack a joke would make her believe that I'm not taking it seriously. I understand where she's coming from. I just need to learn not to do that. And I've told myself multiple times, don't say it, don't do it. She doesn't like it. And I do it anyway. And we end up in an argument. This morning, luckily, didn't end up in an argument, but there was definitely tension. And so that being like, I need to work on that tenfold, 100%, because we waste so much energy on arguments that don't need to happen, because for the most part, we're on the same page on the issue. But I don't address it in a way that she enjoys. And so therefore I need to fix that, because I don't want to have arguments all the time. It's wasting my time and her time to have an argument that we don't need to have. So my communication is another really big thing that I feel like I could improve on. And not just with my wife. This is with people across the board, right? I could communicate better at work. I can communicate better with my clients. I can communicate better with my children, my mother, my sisters. There's just so much that goes into it that, like, I could communicate better with everybody. And I think that there's a lot of room for improvement there. So, yeah, communication is definitely something that I need to work on. And the last thing that I will say that I really, really want to work on, and again, I have a lot more issues, a lot more problems that I will address future episodes. But I think, what was that, 5? I think 5 is a good number to start off with. So my last one that I want to talk about today is finances, I guess is the best way to put it. Stop spending money on stupid stuff that I don't need. And this has a lot to go back to my eating habits, because a lot of stuff that I spend money on is food, and not like good food, like not healthy food, like Wawa, right? I need to stop going to Wawa. I love Wawa. Shout out to Wawa. If you're listening to this, I would love you to sponsor me. But every time I go into Wawa, I end up getting something that I don't need. Right? Like if I go in there for lunch and I get a sandwich, great, but I also get a pretzel or another side. I don't go to the Tasty Cake section. I don't get soda. So like those are things that I think are important to mention, that I don't get like junk, but I get things that I don't need to eat. Like I just don't need it in my life. It's delicious, but I don't need it. And that leads to me spending money that I don't have. We don't have a lot. We're just getting by, basically. And so I need to figure out, I got to trim where I can trim. And I think like bad eating habits included in that, if I get rid of the bad eating habits, that'll help me financially. That'll be good. And when it comes to other spending habits, I mean, I don't really buy a lot for myself. I do tend to buy a lot for my kids, and I not a lot, but I need to keep better track of where my money goes, because right now I'm the 100% breadwinner. I'm 100% breadwinner in my family, and my wife is the one that takes care of all the finances. She sees where the money goes, and so I earn the money, she deals with the money, and I need to take a better, more invested interest in where that goes. I have a general idea, but I think it'll be better for my relationship and for our financial standing if I knew where all of our money was going. And maybe I can help her out, because that's a huge burden that I put on her that isn't fair to her. So I think if I were to help in that aspect, in all financial aspects, trying to find ways to make more money, because more money is good, but not only finding ways to make more money, but spend less money and spread that money out to where it needs to go, so that's more effective. That's kind of, what I need to work on, because the system that I have right now just doesn't work at the moment. So there you have it. I didn't change financial, my communication problems with my wife, eating habits, health, and time management. I will start on those 5 things, and I think once I start nipping those in the bud, that I will start to feel a little bit more better about where I stand. But don't get me wrong, it's going to be a never-ending evolution. Once those things are rectified or being worked on, more will pop up, more will show their face. But like I said, I highly recommend that you do this as well. I think that you should reflect, find your issues, and try and get rid of them. Work on them. And I'm here. If you need any help, if you need recommendations, if you have something that you want me to interview, if you have a topic that you need handled, let me know. Comment, rate, subscribe, message me personally on Facebook. Whatever you need to do, I'm here for you to help. This is the Rising Tide Podcast. Together we rise. When one person becomes stronger, we all become stronger. So let's do this together. Make sure you reach out to me if you have any problems, if you have any needs. I'm here for you. My inbox is always open. So thanks so much for listening, guys. This has been the Rising Tide Podcast. Together we rise. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, comment, share, anything that can help the community. We just want to grow and become stronger together. So we'll be back next week with Fred. Until then, have a good week, guys. Peace.